Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Turin here, and welcome to the second match in the showcase series between myself and Indypride of Milk and Cookies Total War. So firstly, I'd like to sincerely thank Creative Assembly for sending myself, as well as several other YouTubers, the early access codes to the Bretonnia DLC. It allows us to play these quick battles, bring this content to you guys a few days early, I believe. I think, yeah, it's 3 or 4 days early, which is great. Also bringing you guys some campaign footage. So again, hopefully that'll tide you guys over until the release on Tuesday. So thanks again to Creative Assembly. I'd also like to take a moment to sincerely thank Indypride again for playing these games with me. It was a lot of fun. He's a great player, great YouTuber, just all around awesome guy. And it's been a great time playing this series. So thanks again. And for those of you guys that haven't seen his channel, I'll go ahead and put a link in the description below. Go check him out. He makes a lot of great content. So let's jump right into the army competition here. I'm going to be playing the Beastmen, and he is going to be playing New Bretonnia. So in my front line, I actually brought Bestigor herds. Now, against historical Bretonnia, where they have all those lightly armored infantry, this might seem a little bit absurd, but the Bestigors are actually pretty important now, I think. Because again, Bretonnia, their infantry corps has just changed so much. They have these new units back here. We'll get into his army composition a little deeper here in a moment, but he does have some battle pilgrims. Very cool. But what I wanted to highlight were these foot squires. So I think the foot squires are just going to be an essential component to, a multitude of Bretonnian builds. They have armor piercing, anti-infantry, and also have 70 armor. So, the traditional gore herds are going to really struggle against their armor, and the anti-infantry bonus on the foot squires is just going to cut gore herds to pieces. So I figured I needed to kind of have some hard-hitting units to cut them down because, again, they're very strong, especially when buffed by the Grail Relique. They just last all day. So, again, hopefully you guys don't mind my mangling of a lot of the pronunciation of the Bretonnian units. So in the front line, I do have the Bestigor herds mixed in with some gore herds with shields. He actually didn't bring any missiles with his build, so the shields weren't terribly pertinent, but still decided to bring them because gore herds perform pretty well against low-tier, Bretonnian infantry, especially these new peasant mobs and these spears and things like that. So they're not a terrible choice there. So that's my front line. Of course, Morikar the Shadow Gave with the Staff of Ruinous Corruption, Braysham with the Lore of Beasts with Flock of Doom. Still pretty good against Bretonnia in my book. I do have 2 Gorbals, which are just essential because, again, King Lewin is quite strong, of course, and he actually got some nice changes. He has some new items. Definitely excited to show you guys those. But again, having anti-large and armor piercing against Bretonnia, especially against their new Cav, who are large and pretty heavily armored for the most part, it's going to be very, very useful. So on top of that, I do have some Ungor Spearman herds on the flanks because, again, Bretonnia, they are truly the Cav faction now, guys. They literally have Cav for every situation. They have the questing knights who have anti-infantry and armor piercing. So again, if you have armored infantry, they can run you down. They have Grail knights with anti-large and living saints, so they never get tired. They also have knights of the realm with anti-large, so they'll be very good against or for example, Beastmen Cav who aren't armored and also are counted as large. So they have tons of stuff now. So having spears against Bretonnia is going to be quite important. So one group over there, another group of spears over here. I have some Chaos Poison Warhounds to help kind of intercept the Bretonnian Cav and lock them down. And then I also have 2 groups of Centaurs with great weapons because, again, you're going to need that armor piercing against Bretonnian Cav. So we will see how it goes, and let's jump right into the Bretonnian army. I'm actually going to pause because the conflict is pretty close to happening here, and I definitely want to give them their due diligence because they have a lot of cool new units. So this is the new peasant mob. So the peasant mob are literally like Bretonnian zombies. But again, I believe they don't have the Grail Relique right now, but they actually have 49 leadership when buffed right now. So I believe it actually sits in the 30s when they're actually not being buffed by leadership. But if you guys look at their stats, they come in tons of models, 120 models, and they're actually really good in like matchups versus the dwarves and things like that. It's just like kind of zerging, enveloping missile units, just being annoying, and they're very good at like taking a beating for sure. So I really like this edition of Bretonnia. Very, very cool, and they only cost 100 gold. You can literally have so many of these things, and I think they're very useful. So 15 weapon strength, 10 melee defense, basically, human zombies. So aside from that, he does have some spearmen at arms with shields. Probably just had, some extra resources, wanted to kind of get them as fodder in the front line to kind of bolster those peasants. And then in the back, he does have battle pilgrims. So these guys are just so freaking cool. Check them out. So they're armored, not armored, excuse me. They're shielded, and they also have frenzy. So these guys are going to be very, very good at cutting through Beastmen infantry because, again, they are getting that 12% weapon damage, that melee attack, and they're also going to be immune to psychology, which is quite nice when under the effects of frenzy. So they're going to be very good at dealing with the gore herds and lightly armored Beastmen infantry. I actually think they're going to be a decent pick against Wood Elf infantry as well. Not against the trees, of course, but against Wood Elf infantry. They do have shields, which is nice, so they can take a little bit of fire. Just a very cool unit, very nice addition in my opinion. So he has a second group of battle programs over there, and then he has the MVPs back here. So these guys just so good in all matchups. They can go toe to toe with dwarf infantry. They can beat most chaos infantry. They actually beat Forsaken head up. They beat Chaos Warriors head up. On top of that, they also do very well against greatswords for a much cheaper cost, and are just a great unit for Bretonnia to have. So again, I actually think you need to start bringing armor piercing against Bretonnia. I made the mistake in some of these matches of not doing that, and I was definitely punished for it. So Although, I don't know, how much can you really bring? Because again, they have such, a dynamic roster with infantry now. Definitely a little bit tricky. So I think having a little bit of armor piercing will be, pretty important. So also, he does have the Grail Relique over here. So very cool stuff. This thing has, looks like 16 leadership, and it makes all nearby units immune to psychology, which is just incredibly powerful because historically, a lot of Bretonnian infantry would, route to terror and things like that. But now the battle pilgrims with their immunity to psychology, these Foot Squires, obviously, Indypride in this whole series did a very good job of using this Grail Relique and keeping these Foot Squires near it, really getting that benefit and just keeping them from breaking. So awesome. So he also does have the new King Lewin up here. So King Lewin is new and improved, guys. He has a lot of the similar stats, but look at this leadership when buffed by the Grail, 109. If you look at the leadership of these spears, it's like 79 here. These guys have 109 leadership, these Battle Pilgrims. It's just crazy. It's awesome. I love it. So he does have the 450 armor piercing damage, but this is his new item here. So the Lion's Shield. So the Lion Shield actually gives 44% missile resistance, 44% magic resistance. It's on a pretty short cooldown, so it's pretty nice when he's taking like massive focus fire. If he's getting nuked by like a Spirit Leech or something, you can pop that, and it really, really is helpful. So definitely dig the new guy there. So on top of that, he's got some more Foot Squires in the back. Knights of the Realm, anti-large now. Very, very good. They do cost 100 more gold, so that's just something to take note of, guys. So he has one group there and one group there. So they're going to do pretty good at dealing with Gorbals and Centaurs, the great weapon. So I really like Indypride's pick there. And lastly, guys, he has the Green Knight. So the Green Knight, he's going to be pretty good against factions who don't have a ton of direct magic damage. So against the Beastmen and Greenskins, he's going to, I think, really thrive. So he's a melee expert, he's ethereal, so he's very similar to like Halkenhoff Stonebeard and the Throny Ironbrow and those ethereal lords in that he is unbreakable. He also has this really cool ability, the Dolores Blade, which, it lasts 57 seconds, 34 melee attack, and 44% weapon damage. So if you're sending him on like Bray Shamans and things like that, he will just absolutely slay them. 430 weapon strength, a great charge bonus, great stats across the board, great stats. And of course, being unbreakable is quite nice. He also does have the Sacred Guardian, so he does regenerate as long as, so let's see. So unit is not in the forest, it's disabled if, okay, so he has a bit of a healing. Very, very cool stuff there. He does cause fear and terror, so again, against like low tier Beastmen infantry, he's going to be great. So without further ado, my apologies for the long-winded explanation, but again, there's so much new stuff. I just wanted to do justice to his cool build over here and just get right into the action. So the Beastmen infantry line, pretty standard protocol here. We're just advancing down the pipe. The Bretonnian troops, if you guys look, they don't have charge defense against all anymore on their spears and their halberds. So they have charge defense against large, but not against all. So times are certainly changing a little bit, but he has a pretty nice little concave here. You can see his army spread out. So he's definitely going to kind of collapse and try and sandwich me in the middle. Right now I am posturing up my Centaurs in the back. Did I actually bring... No, I brought 2 Centaurs with great weapons and 1 with throwing axes to kind of deal with King Lewin and things like that. So the main core is going to engage with the peasants here, and you can see the peasant blob. I mean, they take massive casualties. So these guys, these Bestigors obviously have a 42%, I think it's in the 40s of a charge bonus, so they're able to just annihilate these peasants, but that's totally fine. I mean, this is 100 gold. They're going to rout, and, inevitably they'll come back. So it's not that big of a deal. They take the charge of those guys. Not a bad situation at all. So over here, the Gore Herds have engaged. You can see the Battle Pilgrims are in here, and the Battle Pilgrims are just so freaking cool, and they actually are going to perform quite well here. So decent shock damage exchanged on both sides between the Gore Herds and the Battle Pilgrims. Definitely love the new Bretonnian infantry line. And you can say Indypride does have his Grail Relique right here, which is hitting this front line and also hitting some of these troops. The peasants do get collapsed, which is a little bit tough, but then the Foot Squires have stepped in, and the Foot Squires are going to do very well. And you can see the Bestigor Herds are actually just getting taken down. Like, they're losing models very quickly, and the Foot Squires actually, have a pretty high model count and are doing very well here. So right now I'm just trying to pick an engagement with my cav. So what I do is I form like a shield wall with the spears here, but he's able to actually push through with his superior infantry numbers. And you can see the Green Knight coming in pretty hard here, but thankfully we're able to get some spears over there to help out. So right now I do see these Knights of the Realm over here. And the Gorbals are basically just waiting for King Lewin to land, and Morker also does not have his Spirit Essence of Chaos yet. So we get a nice little charge here in the Hounds, very useful for doing this. They're able to intercept here and, kind of break the charge of those guys. And of course, the Centaurs of the Great Opens have massive shock damage. So you'll see after a few seconds of this engagement that these Knights of the Realm are going to start taking some pretty massive casualties. But he does have the Earth Bloom and the healing going off. You can see the Earth Blood upgraded over there, lands and does a great job. So that is going to trigger Earth Bloom on all these units, but still, they're losing a lot of models here. And the Centaurs are performing extremely well. So I think they're going to be pretty crucial in this matchup for sure. He does pull some of these Spearmen at Arms with shields over, so I immediately have to retreat. He also uses the Sword of Turin with King Lewin, and did a great job with that. So I did stick my Gorbals on him, but I don't think they actually changed the landing dynamics, because King Lewin and in some of the matches when I was playing Chaos last game, I was able to land and just get out easy, no problem. So I don't think they actually changed that. Maybe they did. I don't know. We'll get some sort of announcement on that. But he does come with this other group of Knights of the Realm, and he gets a great charge and actually skewers quite a bit of my troops here. But thankfully, I'm able to get a good wrap as well. The Hounds applying that poison on these guys is going to be nice. And you can also see the throwing axes coming in here and doing a great job against Knights of the Realm. He does use the upgraded Earthblood, but still they had taken so many casualties before that it wasn't going to be as effective. So you can see the Gorbel in here just absolutely pimping it, doing his thing, taking out these knights. And, you know, again, those big chunks and taking out those models against Lore of Life is going to be pretty essential here. So, but still, that does trigger an Earthblood. Very, very strong stuff, and it's going to keep his infantry line quite healthy. So you can see the Green Knight in here just being so freaking cool, just slaying these 2 Centaurs with one fell swoop. That was almost like straight out of the cinematic. And with that ethereal 80% mitigation of damage, my Gorbels and other units are not going to do anything to him. It's going to take forever to kill him, especially with the Lore of Life. So very, very well played there. The Centaurs, though, are trading quite well with the Knights of the Realm, so I was pretty happy with that. So he does land King Lewin over here, is doing a little bit of harass, but this is definitely a little bit risky. So now my Gorbel and these other units are going to engage on him, and if I'm able to poison him and just kind of trap him, it's going to be really nice. So King Lewin is trying to get away, but again, these Gorbels have 84 move speed, and King Lewin actually right now, he actually has 124, and he's able to just peel out. So again, like I was telling you guys, I don't know if they changed the flying or the landing dynamics, but still, in the front line, I was able to get some Chaos Spawn. We're fighting against spears with anti-large, so this isn't the best, you know, case situation for them, but, you know, most of my front line did collapse to these foot squires and battle pilgrims and things like that. So I just needed something to hold the front line, so Morker was able to summon those guys, which was quite nice. Over here, the Flock of Doom continuing to go off, being very, very effective here, but that Grail Relic is keeping these guys in the fight. So right now, they have exactly 16 leadership. So if this Grail Relic wasn't here, they would all be broken and routed. They would be at 0 leadership, they would be wavering, and they would be routing. So just awesome use, very well played on Indypride's part, keeping them like in the heart of the battle. He was very good at like keeping them kind of in the areas that were really close and kind of pitched. Whereas over here, you know, he had a pretty one-dimensional, not one-dimensional, but one-sided fight over here, so he decided to put the Relic over here. So you can see that massive Earthblood going off. This one wasn't upgraded, but still it's going to trigger that healing across the board. But still the Gorbels are doing a pretty good job of kind of zoning out King Lewin. But again, Lewin has that healing, and now that he has access to Lore of Life, it's going to be even, you know, trickier to kill him for sure. So very well played there. So the Knights of the Realm are coming back from route over here. Some of my Centaurs and other units came back from route as well. And you can see this, the Green Knight. So I just go ahead and intercept him here, but look, he takes almost no damage, like nothing from that charge. And Morker was taking a beating from the Green Knight, so I decided to scurry away. You can see King Lewin gets a great dive on Morker, does a little bit of shock damage, but the Gorbels are in hot pursuit, and Morker does have poison, so if he's able to poison King Lewin and allow these Gorbels to get on him, and also some of these Centaurs and these Poison Warhounds, they now smell blood in the water, so you can see King Lewin takes some massive burst right there, and this is one of the main reasons you've got to bring Chaos Warhounds with poison against Bretonnia. I mean, it's still useful against New Bretonnia. One, they're very good at breaking cav charges and allowing your Centaurs to get in relatively unscathed, and two, they're very good at dealing with diving harass. So you can see King Lewin is surrounded right now. He's taking massive damage. His leadership is at 12, and the poison is keeping him pretty low. Well, actually, it doesn't look like his speed is mitigated right now. So he has 100 speed, and it doesn't look like it's been lowered by the poison, but still, you know, the hounds are pretty quick. They're able to kind of keep on him, so maybe this is kind of the change, because it doesn't seem like he's able to take off right now. So maybe this is the change they make, where if there's like steady, consistent contact, they can't get in the sky. But let me know what you guys think. But still, I'm able to catch him there, which is great, and they're just going to chase him into oblivion. So Morker with his kind of claw arm doing his thing. But in the front line, look at the Bretonnian infantry, guys, just standing triumphant over the Beastmen here, just marching, the battle pilgrims, the foot squires, and you can see the Chaos Spawn just kind of laid all over the ground. So very well played, man. The Bretonnian infantry corps is very strong now, and that cinematic is definitely does them justice when they're walking there together and they say, "Let me be your shield." I forget what the quote was, but my Bray Shaman here is getting hunted by the Green Knight, exactly what I was worried about. So very, very tough stuff there. They're going to isolate him, and you can see this huge core coming. But thankfully, some of my spears, as well as Morker, are able to come back. And now, you know, with King Lewin being chased by well, of course, by my Beastmen, but by the Gorbels and the other units, it's going to definitely help change the dynamic of the battle. So you can see all my troops coming back. So I kind of just engage them, and I also use a big Flock of Doom here, which is going to be very good against like the peasant globs. Just look how freaking funny the peasants look. They actually have like pitchforks and just like shovels and spades and thing like that. It's just so great. This is probably my favorite DLC of all the different ones that are going to be coming out. So the battle pilgrims just being absolute thugs, just slaying these Ungor spearman herds who are wavering. Thankfully, Morker does come in with an apocalyptic vision, but still, the Chaos Warhounds and the Centaurs aren't in great shape, but neither are the Bretonnian troops here. He still does have the Green Knight, who is confident and has taken almost no damage this entire battle, and a lot of my troops are wavering and probably getting terrified by the Green Knight, to be honest, because again, he does cause terror, but still I have some spears coming back, I have some Bestigor herds, and this is going to be huge, because again, I'm going to need them to get through some of these foot squires who are quite resilient. So a lot of his units, I would imagine, are getting relatively close to their healing cap, which is nice. You can see some of these guys coming back here, getting a decent little charge in here versus these foot squires, and they actually traded pretty evenly earlier. I think the Bestigors would probably win in a straight-up fight, but I still think the foot squires would take down a lot of them in the process, because Bestigors have a pretty massive charge bonus of 32 it is. So, you know, they're going to get some pretty good shock damage. They get in there against those foot squires, but they're actually getting turned away and routed. So another group of Bestigors coming in to support, and thankfully I was finally able to get another Spirit Essence of Chaos, which definitely helped to turn the tide of this battle. So you can see the Chaos Spawn tearing apart those those Battle Pilgrims. Also doing pretty good against the Foot Squires as well, but he still does have the Green Knight, who actually was able to chase off and slay. So definitely some chivalry achieved over here. Indypride was able to slay my Bray Shaman, just kind of lay him upon the mountainside over here. So very good stuff. But now that King Lewin was kind of chased off, I did bring the Gorbals back, but King Lewin, unfortunately, still regenerating. He has not reached that healing cap yet, and he's coming back to party, and this fight is not anywhere near being over yet. So as you guys can see, we still have 4 minutes left. So Morker and the boys down here still fighting. The Grail Relique keeping these guys in it, because their leadership is in the low 20s and, you know, high 16, 17 in that range. And without that Grail, they would all be routing. So you can see the Peasant Mob and some Foot Squires routing off here. King Lewin does land and gets a great charge against Morker here, but thankfully Morker is pretty durable. He does have regeneration, so, you know, he's able to take those cycle charges. Unlike if I had like Kazrak or any of those other lords, it probably would have been a very tough situation. But King Lewin is very, very, you know, strong, and I love that ward save item on him with the mitigation for magic damage. It's going to be pretty good because, again, when playing Lewin before, you know, focusing him down with Spirit Leech and things like that was quite effective, but I think that'll help quite a bit. So he does land Lewin after the Centaurs with throwing axes because, again, they do have armor-piercing missiles, and they're putting some pretty good pressure on him, just kind of keeping him in check. You can see the Gorbal I just parked right here. He's just stomping his hooves on the ground, waiting for Lewin to land. Over here, Morker and this Gorbal over here are trying to focus down this Grail Relique. We're getting it, but it does get a nice Earthblood on it, so it's definitely sustaining, and he does land King Lewin, understanding that it's a very, very important thing to keep alive. And Big Papa Morker comes in here, and again, I don't see the poison slowing down his speed, or maybe he's like immune to poison or something. I don't know. I got to look through his stats a little bit more, but my Centaurs with great weapons are chasing him, as well as those throwing axes. You can see they actually did about 600 or 700 HP damage, and King Lewin is finally at his healing cap. So I was very happy about that, and I was able to actually isolate the Grail Relique. I do have the Damsel over here, this Gorbal right here. Yeah, he's actually fighting the Green Knight and just making no progress. So Green Knight, very, very cool unit. I definitely love the addition of it, and I did notice some terror routing throughout the battle. So I'm pretty eager to see how it plays into the meta, you know, a bunch of different builds here. So the Grail Relique taking quite a bit of a beating here. It's broken finally, and the Gorbals are actually able to push through and go after this Damsel with the Lore of Life. So, you know, it was pretty important to kill this, but a lot of his troops were at their healing cap right now. So I think if there was ever a time to take it out, it would have been earlier for sure. So I have a Morker. I also have 2 Gorbals. So he has King Lewin, who's very low. He's actually shaken. He has this, the Green Knight here. He has a Damsel with the Lore of Life. He has, it looks like some Battle Pilgrims and some other troops coming back from route. Most of my other troops, you know, whatever you see here is what I have. So these Centaurs with throwing axes are continuing to try and pick Lewin out of the sky. And I'm really just trying to kill this Damsel because, again, I wanted to save the Green Knight for last, because if I focused him instead of this Damsel, the Damsel would just get to attack me for quite some time. Because, you know, if any of you guys have ever played against Halkenhoff Stonebeard and those other units, it takes literally like 45 minutes to kill a Therial unit. So I am still getting in there with an anti-large bonus, and finally I'm going to start doing a little bit of work on this Green Knight. You can see the Damsel retreating here. So I'm going to go ahead and fast forward a little bit because it's a bit atrocious trying to kill him, but the throwing axes, and I do summon another group of Chaos Spawn, the throwing weapons are able to kind of zone out King Lewin, and he's probably going to shatter here due to army losses at this point. So the Chaos Spawn and Morker and the other guys are surrounding the Green Knight. You can see King Lewin does indeed shatter, but this Green Knight definitely doing Bretonnia proud, just taking this beating like an absolute champ. He does use the Dolores Blade to get a little bit of work in there, but that's pretty much going to be all she wrote for Bretonnia. But man, what a great game. And it's just, it changes the meta so much. Very well played to Indypride. Man, he definitely picked up the new Bretonnia faction pretty quickly and was making great use of that Grail Relique, the Foot Squires, the Battle Pilgrims, doing a great job with the Lore of Life, which honestly, I don't know if there's going to be, you know, a better choice than Lore of Life for Bretonnia, because they have those very powerful elite cav, which are going to reap huge benefits from Lore of Life, because again, they have low model counts with high HP pools. Also, I think the Bretonnia can actually bring Flock of Doom now. So I think there might be some builds where you see like Earthblood and Awakening of the Wood, and then also Flock of Doom. So maybe there'll be some, yeah, pretty crazy metas with that for sure. But the Foot Squires, I mean, look how well they perform. 78 and 69 kills for, you know, how much you're paying. The Bestigor herds did quite well, but also these are very inaccurate numbers because their initial charges, like they literally killed like 40 or 50 peasant mobs. So pretty good job. You know, he did a great job absorbing that charge and then following up with his other units, because again, you don't want the Battle Pilgrims or the Foot Squires taking that charge, because these guys, you know, the best scores will hit pretty hard. But, you know, the Battle Pilgrims did good. His Cav did pretty well. But, you know, actually the Centaurs with great weapons in conjunction with the Gorbal, they actually performed really well against the Bretonnian Cav with the Chaos Poison Warhounds. And we were able to chase Lewin off the battlefield for the most part. So the Spears did pretty good. Man, but that Green Knight was so cool. He's very expensive, though. So that's you know, one argument that could be made. If you did cut him, for example, he could have gotten another group of Grail Knights and a few more infantry. So, you know, is it really worth it? Maybe. The terror routing was pretty strong, and he did a pretty good job, like, sniping out my Bray Shaman and isolating him. And you guys also saw there was many times where, like, the Green Knight was chasing my Lord and was just putting a ton of pressure on me. So, anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed that game. Really well played to Indypride. I'll be uploading the other 2 games because we played 4 games in total, so I'll be uploading those probably tomorrow. So stay tuned, guys, and just thanks again for watching. I just really appreciate your support, and more content coming soon.